everyone, and welcome to our session. Today we talk about AI, and we are happy to be joined by Haris, who is our AI and integration specialist within Oracle EMEA. And of course, I will let Haris to tell you more about himself. So, as I said, our special guest today is Haris Qureshi, and I think it's the moment to invite Haris to the floor now. But before before doing that, I would like to only add one thing. Keep in mind that everything you see in this call has an educational scope. So if you like to use our services further, you may connect with somebody from the Oracle account team. Also, regarding the cloud coaching sessions recordings, if any one of you would like to watch them in the future, keep in mind that there might be some slightly differences in the Cloud Console menu because we enhance our products on a regular basis. That was all on my side. Haris, over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Violeta. Hi, everyone. My name is Haris Qureshi, and I am one of the AI and app integration specialists from Oracle. Today, I will be running this session with all of you. The topic is transformative power of AI and automation in sentiment analysis. Just before I continue, Violeta, you can see my presentation. Everything is clear?
Yes, all good.
Okay, let's start. Now, see, when we are looking at sentiment analysis, right, and as in the world that we are living today, everyone and anyone looks for feedbacks and reviews, right? If I have to go and try a new restaurant, or I need to book a new travel destination, I always go and try to find what kind of feedback other people are providing. And this is the generation that we live in. All the businesses out there, they take this very, very seriously, especially in the business where they are dealing with consumers, but also otherwise. Now, here is some example, and I'm sure while I have been talking, you might be seeing and reading these reviews. As a human, it's very easy for us to read and understand the sentiment of what the person is trying to say. Either they are leaving a negative feedback, or they are leaving a positive feedback, or at times within one feedback, there might be different aspects, like a customer might enjoy the food that they ate, but they did not like the service that was provided to them, right? So that is what we call as a neutral feedback. If you go and look at these kind of reviews, whichever place you are looking at, you would find that businesses today take real action. They would be interested in trying to turn these customers who are negative, to turn their experience into positive, and the customers who are providing positive feedback, always encourage them to keep returning to their business. Now, for a human, that's very simple. But the reality of this today is we are getting inundated by a lot of feedback, and it is almost a job for a person to go through it and keep track of it. Imagine you are receiving so much feedback, so much review from different customers, and then you need to keep a check on that. So in today's session, what we will be focusing on is to introduce you to one of our AI services, which can read this text, give you a sentiment analysis, whether the person is leaving a positive, negative, neutral feedback, and then with the help of automation, you can take action on that. Maybe your business requires, your action is reach out to this person. If it is negative, invite them to come to the business again and offer them a free lunch, right? That can be an action. Now, before I move ahead, let's look at what Oracle is doing as part of our AI platform and AI strategy. One of the things that you would realize is Oracle is always looking at helping enterprises, helping businesses, helping consumers, right? So when we talk about AI and we talk about AI platform, we are providing this service at every layer level. What that means, first of all, infrastructure. Today, if you as a customer is looking at running your own AI models, one thing that we all realize is that the normal compute is not sufficient to handle that kind of a load. That's why you need to have access to GPUs. So as part of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you can easily spin up GPUs and you can run your own models on top of that. If you look at our database services, whether it is Oracle database, Autonomous database, MySQL, as part of the database where all the data is, for a long time, we have been providing services like within Oracle database, there is R. You can get the data, you can run your code on top of it, your machine learning things. Similarly, in MySQL, we are providing HeatWave. And we are also giving services for OCI data science, where if you want to spin up a Jupyter notebook or similar, you can do that. At the top level, where we are offering a lot of business applications like, Fusion ERP, HCM, Cerner, NetSuite, all these applications are inundated with a lot of AI capability, right? So at the infrastructure level, at the platform level, at the application level. Having said all that, another thing that Oracle is really focusing is partnering with companies like Cohere, which are providing their generative AI services. This is currently in limited availability. It was announced in our Oracle Cloud World recently, and you can join our beta program to get your OCI tenancy activated for this. So as you know, generative AI, where you can ask this AI service, the large language models, to understand, to read your documents, to get the policies, and then your employees, your consumers can converse with them and ask questions, or ask them to generate some text or summarize some text. So all this is available in Oracle today with the help of Cohere, and Oracle will be introducing its own AI services in regards to that as well. This is limited availability. Now, on the other hand, we are also very focused on providing AI services for what I personally call are the developer services. You as a developer, I as a developer, I might not want to go in and create these AI things. I don't want to write the code for all the machine learning that is required, but I want my applications, my systems to be enriched with AI services. In that regards, there are a number of AI services that we offer. Digital Assistant is our intelligent chatbot. Speech, where you can actually convert any kind of speech into text. Vision Service, where you can pass it an object and it will be able to detect it. For example, you send it a picture of cars, it will be able to tell you what is the car, what is the plate number, and you can use this information for different purposes. Document Understanding Service, where you can pass it any kind of a document, either it is an invoice or a receipt, and it is able to intelligently extract information from these documents like invoice ID, purchase order number, line items. Anomaly detection, if you are working through some kind of let's say logs, and you want to do some anomaly detection, like normally the path to end is ABC, but sometimes suddenly it goes and it peaks up and there is a new thing has come in. Before your systems realize, if you have this running as part of anomaly detection, it should be able to detect and inform you, okay, something is wrong, right? As part of IoT services, this is a very powerful service. And for today, I would be focusing on our OCI language service, which we will use, and we will see how you can use to what I just mentioned. If you are getting reviews from customers, or maybe you are asking different questions to customers or employees via service, they provide a lot of text into it. You can pass all that text to our language service, and you can understand what is the sentiment of that person, right? And then you can take action. While this language service does a lot more than that. It is able to detect languages, so we support a number of languages, and it will be able to detect. It is able to identify named entity recognition. So if you look at the right text, within that text, there are certain entities like organization, location, event, date. It is able to detect and extract that for you. Sentiment analysis, we will be looking at that in more detail shortly. There is a lot of focus, whether you are part of European Union or other countries, where we do not want to share any kind of personal identification data. it is important for us to hide that information. So using this service, not only you can detect any kind of identification information, but you can de-identify that as well. You can mask it, you can remove it. It is able to extract key phrases, and it is able to also classify the text. So if, for example, you are trying to read documents, or maybe you are reading articles from a newspaper, you are passing this service, it will be able to classify this article is about sports, this article is about finance and banking, and you might want to classify those documents and put it in different buckets. So one service can do it all. But for today, our focus is on the sentiment analysis capability of this service. When we are talking about sentiment analysis, it is basically helping us do what we call as aspect-based sentiment analysis. What is that? It's mainly when you are saying something, or you are writing a sentence. In that sentence, there might be one key thing that you are mentioning. Like if I read one of the sentences from this text, where it says, the hotel is well positioned for the SkyTrain for exploring downtown. Now in this, the positive aspect is not for SkyTrain, it is not for downtown, it is for hotel. So what the service is able to successfully do, it is able to identify that, in this sentence, there is a positive sentiment for the aspect which is hotel, right? Similarly, it can do it at individual level as well as the sentence levels as well. Okay, enough talk. Let's look at that service now. I presume you can see my screen now, where I am showing you our OCI language service.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you are part of OCI and you have access to tenancy, if not, as Violetta said, you have access to our free tier environment, you can use that code and you can get $500 credit. So when you get into our OCI tenancy, you can see we offer a lot of different services. And this service that I'm talking about is under analytics and AI. And within AI services, there are all these different AI services that I mentioned. So when you go into the language service, first of all, you can see what are the different options that it provides. Language detection, as I mentioned, detect out of around 75 languages. Classification, so I mentioned about sports or finance, there are 600 different categories that it will be able to identify. Sentiment analysis, extract the sentiment. Key phrase extraction, again there are 100 plus different key phrases that it can extract. Named entity recognition, whether it is a hotel, whether it is a organization, whether it is date, whether it is name, whether it is credit card information. So it is able to identify that as a named entity, and it's also on top of that detect personal identification things as well. Now let's go to text analytics, and let me copy one sample text here, right? So here you see I'm in text analytics. The interface, let me add some text, and I'll quickly read one line of it. So I recently dined at ABC Bistro and I have mixed feelings about my experience. And then this review goes about talking about different aspects, what those mixed feelings are, right? The atmosphere was charming, but food quality might be bad. So if I go down and look at the results, these are the different things that it's able to detect. Language, English, and you see that it provides me a confidence score over there, which is 99.99% that it's English. Text classification, it is able to classify that it's a food, grocery, and cooking. This text is related to that. Then within named entity, you can see that from the text, it is able to identify different entities, right? ABC Bistro seems like an organization. Meal, food is product. Restaurant is location, facility, right? So it is able to detect different named entity from there. Then it is able to go in and identify different key phrases. Famous dessert, food quality, chef's flavor, summary, and so on. Now, let's come and look at the sentiment. First of all, when it looks at this whole text, it gives me an overall score that this review is a mixed. right? What that means, it has got some positive as well as negative. Then if you look at the aspect-based sentiment analysis, it is able to identify sentiments on different things. I recently dined at ABC Bistro and I have mixed feelings about my experience. So it is telling me, ABC Bistro is mixed, giving me that aspect. Experience, depending on the overall text, is still positive. And then you can see, however, my enthusiasm was dampened by food quality. I ordered chef special and it arrived lukewarm, which was disappointing, right? So looking at this text from that sentence, right? The food quality, I ordered chef special and it arrived lukewarm, which was disappointing. It was able to correctly identify that there is a negative sentiment for the chef special that the person ordered, right? And wherever it was positive, the restaurant has a lot of potential with its ambience and service, but there's room for improvement, right? So it is able to give us that. At the same time, it is giving me a sentence level aspect as well. Now, finally, in this example, I did not have any personal identification, so it did not detect anything, right? We will look at that another example for that particular use case. But before I move ahead, let's look at the interface, right? When we will automate it, we will call it using REST APIs. And when we do that, if I click on show JSON, I can actually see over here how this JSON code would be returned. So if I look at the sentiment bit, you can see that overall document sentiment is mixed. What is the score? Positive, negative, and neutral. So it gives me an overall score. Then there is sentences. It's giving me sentence level. And at the bottom, it is giving me related to specific text. So service, sentiment was positive. For portion size, the sentiment was negative, right? So this is what you as a developer would receive, and you can, utilize this information. And we will see in the demo overall end-to-end how I am utilizing. Now, let's quickly put another text where we have, this is a very bad example, but where I am putting a dummy email where someone is providing information about, I'm writing to you to know about your account has been locked, and they are putting a lot of information which they should not be putting, like full name, date of birth, social security number, and so on. This is all dummy example, right? Now, when I analyze this, it's able to detect the language, text classification. This is finance and banking. It is able to identify a lot of different named entity, email, location, person name. There is some negative aspect there as well because account is getting locked. But now let's focus on the personal identifiable information. You can see it is able to identify multiple things, whether it's a date, time, person name, address, account number, telephone number. And at the bottom output, you see how we can mask it. Within the masking, there are different options available to me. So again, when you call this service, you give it a text, you have the control how you want the PII data to be masked. I can say number of characters to be left unmasked are the last 4, or I want to mask everything, or I replace it with the entity type. So if I choose this option and I just click on save changes, what you see at the bottom, it has totally replaced those values, and the output is it's just giving me those named entities, right? And similarly, I can configure it. Maybe I want to remove that information altogether, right? So not only it is able to identify the personal information, but it is able to mask it, and then still you have control. If I say I want the last 3 digits to be unmasked, right? So you would see that only the last 3 digits are unmasked here, okay? So that's what our language OCI AI language service can do. Now, let's move forward. We talked about this service is great, right? So the interface that I showed you was how using the OCI service, you can utilize it. But now we will work on a use case where we are going to automate this end-to-end. And for that purpose, we would be using Oracle Integration Cloud Service, which is our one of the leading Gartner iPaaS platform service recognized by Gartner. It has multiple capabilities when it comes to application integration, or you want to create workflows using process automation, you want to create a front-end mobile application or a web application using the Visual Builder, B2B and others, right? All this part of Oracle Integration Cloud. From integration perspective, we provide a number of adapters out of the box. So as a customer, you have access to all the adapters. And as we add more and more adapters, like in this particular release, the October release, we have added around 10 different adapters. Our customers have access to all those 10 adapters. In the use case, in the demo, I will be using a database adapter, which is our ATP adapter, a REST adapter, and OCI streaming, which is our Oracle Cloud Infrastructures, Oracle Managed Kafka service. So I will be utilizing that as well. So what does this automation looks like? In your use case, you can get this text from all different places. You might want to analyze some text from emails. So from OIC, you can read those emails. You might have some files in an object storage and you want to read them, or you might want to read text from social media, whether it's from WhatsApp or Facebook or LinkedIn. You can connect to these applications to get the text. What we would do in Oracle integration, we will then receive this text and we pass it to the language service. Maybe your use case is to understand the sentiment. You can do that. Or your use case might be that I want to identify the PII type data and I want to mask that. So you can do that. And usually you can store this information and you can do some analytics. So in today's demo, what my end-to-end flow looks like is I will show you that I have got a file which has got a lot of customer reviews. Maybe someone has taken a review, a personal review from different customers, or they have downloaded this file. So I will upload this into object storage. I am utilizing one of the features of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure called events. What will happen as soon as the file is uploaded on object storage, it will fire an event and it will tell on one of our Kafka topic, the OCI streaming topic, that the file is available. Oracle Integration Cloud is subscribing to this particular stream. It knows right away that the file is ready. I don't need to do any kind of a polling. It tells me in real time. And then I call OCI language service. I add the information into our autonomous database, the sentiments, the events, the feedback, and I have on the right-hand side an analytics dashboard to see what is daily sentiment of our hotel is. So from a management perspective, they can keep an eye on the analytics cloud dashboard to see what customers are saying and they can take some action. So let's look at that now. Okay, now you would be seeing that language service. Before I go ahead into Oracle Integration Cloud, let's look at the key infrastructure bits that I mentioned. Now I'm going into our object storage bucket, right? In our OCI object storage bucket, as soon as it loads, we have different buckets. My bucket is this one, the customer feedback one. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, that one of the features of OCI Oracle Cloud Infrastructure is what we call as OCI events. What you notice over here is when you create a bucket, there is an option which says emit objects events. Here I have enabled it, right? When I enable it, I can go and I can look at my observability, and here there are events. I'm going to the event service. And within this event service, you see this is the HQ customer feedback event that is available, right? So this is for my bucket. And what you see, I have created an event matching rule over here. What it says is I've created an event whenever an object is created in that bucket. So that's the event type. I have other event types here as well. which I can utilize. You can see our different services provide event, and then there are different event types. So you can find the information in documentation, what are kind of events it can capture. Yeah. Then what are the attributes that I am capturing from that event? So when the object is created, I am interested in capturing the compartment name as well as the bucket name. And finally, if there are any flags, maybe I want to create an event where I'm only capturing files which are starting with some text, right? I don't want to capture everything. So I can add filter flags as well. Then there is an action. What is the action I'm going to take? In this case, if I add action, there are different options that I can do. I can send this event to a streaming, which I'm doing in this case to our Kafka topic, or I can send an email as a notification service, or I can call our OCI function service, right? So in this case, I am sending it to our streaming service. One other thing I will show you about the event. So when I select and edit it, or I add an event, let's say, where is the bucket one? Give me 1 second. Yeah, edit rule. When I click on edit rule, this is the interface that you see. So when I was selecting it, this is what I did. Event type, object storage, event type is object create, attributes that I'm capturing is compartment, so I provide that. And on the right-hand side, you see an example. So when this event will fire, it will have this as a text. And now this becomes my request payload for what I would be doing inside my Oracle integration. So you can see, I already know within the data object, I will get the compartment ID, the compartment name, the resource ID, available domain, namespace, bucket name, and so on. This is important for developers to know, okay, it's very easy for me to find out exactly what is the text is going to come, right? And in the streaming, I'm passing it to stream. So let's cancel it. And let's go back to our actions. And in this case, as I mentioned, I have a OCI stream, and I've called this stream HQ customer feedback stream. So the message is going to be pushed over here. Okay. Now, let's go back to our bucket. So the initial infrastructure or my architecture is this. I upload the file and then I receive it directly in OIC. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going back to my bucket. I have an option to upload here. So I'm going to select my file. And if I show you the file, this is what the file is. It's got a lot of data and there is a lot of customer feedback that I'm going to read from that. So let's upload it. Good. Okay. Now, what I'm expecting, it will fire the event, goes to streaming and OIC. Now go to Oracle Integration Cloud. Inside Oracle Integration Cloud, I have created a project. You can see I've got just 2 integrations. One is which is subscribing to that particular stream, and the other is where I'm downloading this file and I'm performing my task. Let's look at the first integration. In this integration, the purpose of this integration is to subscribe to the stream. So if you look at, and if I click on view, I'm using the OCI streaming adapter. Here, I've got the endpoint name. Next, I've provided that particular streams which I am subscribing to. So that's my HQ customer feedback stream. And I have provided a sample JSON. So this is the sample JSON which I already received from that event, right? So I just copy paste over here and say, okay, this is how the text is going to look like, right? That's all. So this is all I need to do as part of subscribing to that particular stream. At This level, I'm calling a child integration. So I have the option to call child integrations within OIC. So you saw I have another integration. In this case, that's the HQ customer feedback. So I'm just, calling that. And I'm passing some data, which is I'm using the mapper. So if you look at my mapper, now I know what is the information coming. So on my request, there is the message, there is the request wrapper, there is the content, and then there is the data. And within data, I have the compartment ID, compartment name, and additional information that I'm passing is the bucket name and namespace. Because in the next integration, the requirement for me is to download that file. So these are some of the value fields that I need, which I am passing and I'm mapping to my next integration. Mainly, I need the compartment name, resource name, and bucket name, and the file name, right? So this is how easy it is to do the mapping. So that's my first integration. In the second integration, if I come to my customer feedback analytics integration, what I am doing, again, I'm reading that information. First of all, I'm calling my object storage API to read that particular file. So I've got a connection established, which is calling that object storage. And if you look at the REST API text, I need to provide the namespace, bucket name, and object name. I am doing that. You can easily guess. I'm getting that information as part of the request. So you would notice that in my mapping, I am providing this information. So all I need to do is these three things. By doing this, now I know confidently that I have access to that file which I just uploaded, right? Next step, I'll download that file into our stage file. Stage file is an in-memory location for keeping some text. So now I have the file over here. If you notice the file that I'm uploading, it has got multiple lines, and I want to read the text of the line one by one. So in that case, I am using the for loop. Now, in my database table, there are three tables. One is for I want to have that text as is, which is the customer feedback. So in this case, I am invoking using my autonomous database adapter. In that adapter, I have the option of selecting perform an operation on a table. And what I'm doing, I'm inserting, right? When I do next, I need to select the table that I want to insert the data. That is the feedback table. And that's it. So by selecting this, I have configured my adapter to be able to insert data into that autonomous database. And if I look at the mapping, what I'm doing in the mapping, in the last act, I am running a for loop on all the records. So you would notice that I'm getting the feedback from those records. And these are the four columns which exist in my table. And then I'm performing a mapping one by one. Feedback date goes to date, feedback goes to feedback, location name goes to location name. And then I am performing another task that I am now calling the OCI language API to detect all the entities. As you noticed, we are able to identify entities, and then what is the aspect analysis against those entities, we can perform that task as well. So in this scenario, I am calling my OCI language API. And in that, I'm calling the operation to detect language entities, right? That's all I have configured here. This is the post. I provide a JSON sample. So that's available there. So it's just basically the text. I just need to pass the text. That's what I'm doing. And what it will return the entities for me, from all the entities detected from that text as the form of a JSON object, which I showed you initially, from language service, how does that look like? So I map the feedback that is coming line by line to that. And then I am inserting all the entities, because in one text, there can be multiple entities, as we saw in our example as well. So I have a simple for loop here. If that text has got 2 entities, 3 entities, 1 entity, 1,000 entities, this for loop would run and insert all those entities to my database table for related to that feedback. And the last thing that I'm doing is the sentiment, right? The positive, negative, neutral. And again, I'm calling the language service. And in this case, I'm calling a different operation, which is to detect language sentiments, right? So last one, we were doing entities. Here, I'm doing the language sentiments. And again, I'm performing the same task. I pass the text to detect these language entities. Then I have a for loop where I am inserting all these records inside my table, right? So this is my end-to-end integration looks like. Now, when I started over here, I had already uploaded a file into the object storage. So let's see in action what happened behind the scenes. You can see that, let me change the window to last 1 hour. You can see in the last 1 hour, it triggered 7 minutes ago, which is almost the time while I've been speaking and I'm showing you the integration, or when I uploaded the file, that right away, the file came to and it was detected by the subscribe stream. So if I go over here, you can see that when I uploaded the file, event was fired, it sent the message to the stream, and or the Oracle integration cloud in real time, it detected that particular object. And here I can see, okay, what was there? My file name was hotelreview.csv, and it provided me all the information. And in this, I called the child integration, right? And what this did, it triggered the second integration, which is the customer feedback analytics. So let's go to observe again, which is our monitoring capability. And you can see the customer feedback analytics was triggered almost right away. And it took only 25 seconds for performing all the different things that I told you. So in my file, there are 14 records. So it took 25 seconds for it to download the file, insert record in the database tables and run some for loop, because one thing was providing multiple entities. So here you can see there were like 13 records, and it executed, it called first inserted the records into the database table for feedback, and then it went ahead and saved the entities, as well as it saved for one, it was like 14, and it also saved what you call the sentiment as well. So the first feedback, you can see it, there were 14 entities and there was a sentiment analysis was around for 13. And as a developer, I can monitor every aspect, for the second line, there were 11, and so on, right? So as a monitoring, I can see all that. From the activity string, since I have set the tracing level as debug, at every instance level, I can see the data over here as well, right? Now, so in a very simple manner, I have been able to automate this. But as I said, we can automate it based on your requirements. So this is my database table, and I can, just search from feedback. But that's, it's just the insert. But let's look at more from the visualization perspective, right? So this is a simple visualization that I have created against the reviews, right? I'm not an analytics person. I've already been told that, I could have built a better analytics. So I will take some help from some of my colleagues to improve the analytics. But the purpose to show you is we can now from the manager of that hotel, he doesn't have to worry about checking the reviews every day of the time. He can have a dashboard. And here what you are seeing is that there are around 400 plus reviews. There for room, there are certain reviews which are negative. So when I click on room, I can actually see what are the negative reviews, and at the bottom it is showing me all those negative reviews. So if I need to take a personal action, I can do that. I can compare my negative hotel reviews, remember this is aspect, right, to the positive hotel reviews. So in this case, there are around 90 negative feedbacks for the hotel, and there are around 460 positive, right? And whenever I click, I can actually see what are those particular feedbacks are. So as a manager, it makes my life easy. I just need to monitor this, and I can take action. We can, with the power of Oracle integration, with the power of workflows, we can do a lot more automation there as well, right? But this is just to show you a use case how you can utilize the OCI AI language service and automate it end-to-end using the integration service. Okay, now, finally, so what I was able to demonstrate to you as part of the demo, right? We looked at two integrations. One integration was capturing data from the stream. The other integration was performing the business logic of the complex business logic of calling the AI service and storing it into the database. We looked at a file. We started with a file. We uploaded the file on what we call as our OCI object storage service. We uploaded in the bucket. We had enabled OCI events there. By enabling that event, what we chose it for only the create. So every time an object is created over there, an event is fired, and if the action was, we were sending it to one of our streaming services. That is our OCI Kafka service. By doing this is all real time, right? And you can use this pattern for a lot of different use cases. As soon as the file was available in the OCI or the message was available in OCI stream, my first integration was triggered, right? I have not set up any schedule. It is almost, a real time. It called, it stored the data into the database table. I've got 3 tables for this: feedback, entities, sentiment. And finally, I've created an analytics dashboard using our Oracle Analytics Cloud service, where, as a user, as a manager, I can actually monitor and observe what is the kind of sentiments are being shared by customers. I hope you enjoyed the session. We can take some questions now.
All right. Haris, there is one on the Q&A. If you like to just quickly check it.
Sure. So I'll answer it live. So this particular service is not based on LLM. We do have services for LLM as part of Cohere. So they are available as part of limited availability. We can do the same task as part of with that also. But this service is what we call as our OCI AI language service, which you provided a text. In this case, I'm passing it a text, and it is providing the sentiment back to us, or it can do the identification, named entity, and so on, right? So this particular service is not based on LLM, but Oracle do have services which support LLM.
All right. With that, I would like to thank you all for being here together with us. Thank you, Haris, for delivering this great session. We hope to see you soon again at Cloud Coaching. We hope that you guys enjoyed the session and you learned a lot of new things about the AI capabilities and integration, of course, and automation with sentiment analysis. Of course, wishing you to enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.